Welcome everyone to Frequency School. I am Zofia Hausman. I'm your host, and we have the incredible Dr. Michelle Patrick as our special guest today. We're also excited to have you with us and bless us with your presence. I just wanted to say a little bit about Frequency School for those that are new here, and explain how this came to be very briefly. There was a group of us. This is the Frequency Shifts creation, and Jessica Hesse is the mama of Frequency Shift. And we realized that there's a collective of people who are really remembering our true blueprint and our capacity for this tremendous creative power within us, and waking up to that and our potential, and remembering our quantum capacity. So we wanted to provide this space where we could really dive deep into topics around alchemy and frequency and self-mastery. So that is how Frequency School came to be, and we're going to be running every month a Zoom with an incredible human being, expert, specialist in their field. And so today we have the amazing Dr. Michelle, and I actually would love to share her bio with you because her breadth of experience and study is phenomenal. But firstly, I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience of Michelle, because we were lucky in Philadelphia, where I'm based, to have her visiting just on the fly. And we managed to just organize another talk. And I sat next to Michelle as she gave her talk. And throughout the evening, I just felt like I was sitting 2 inches from her. I just felt so close. And afterwards, when I look back at the pictures that some people had taken, I was actually sitting quite a distance from her. And I realized that it's her presence. It's her energetic field is so huge that it reached me all the way from, like 4 or 5 feet. It was really like an incredible feeling, so much warmth and so much presence. And, there's many people out there that can talk brilliantly about their field of work. But she truly is an embodiment, a living, breathing embodiment of everything that she has taken with her along her journey. And she's a true wisdom keeper. So that's just my lived experience of her. And I think it's always nice to hear from, lived experience. But I'll just read a little bit about Michelle, and then we can get started. She's a clinical doctor of Chinese medicine, and she studied at some phenomenal universities in England. And as well as her clinical practice, Michelle is an experienced researcher, lecturer, and self-mastery coach, with a belief that the human body is capable of great self-healing when the physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies are aligned and treated as a whole, as opposed to symptomatically. And through her dedicated clinical practice and teachings, she awakens this capability through her patients and her clients by not only supporting them with treatment application, but providing them with a framework that supports an empowered role in their own radical realization and mastery. And that's why we are here today, because I think we all know, like, we're all here to radically realize the possibility and potential within us, and the opportunity for self-mastery. So Michelle encourages self-observation and self-actualization in the re-education of the human form from a poetic and philosophical perspective, and you'll hear that today. She can just riff and come out with these amazing expressions like sacred mitsu. That's like my top favorite. Reigniting awe and empowering the activation of the inner physician. This allows people to feel in control of their physical, emotional, and mental healing journeys, inspiring radical self-love along the way. Traditional means of education can be disempowering, and through her dedicated vision and poignant teachings, Michelle encourages self-mastery as a way of not only changing our world, but the world itself. And this is truly revolutionary. I know many of us here are here because of the Healy frequency device. And so I just want to acknowledge everyone here wanting and hungry for that self-mastery. So with further ado, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Michelle Patrick.
Oh, that was wonderful. She did warn me. She warned me about the intro. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm super excited to be here with you all, especially pertaining this particular subject, which is extremely close to my heart in my own explorations of the landscapes of our internal ecologies and what's possible within the spiritual technology that is the body. But first and foremost, I would like us all to take a moment, because I think when we show up into these spaces hungry for knowledge that is really just information, we less forget the experiential wisdom that is happening inside of us right now. With every single heartbeat, with every cell vibrating at its highest and greatest good in your honor and only for your highest and greatest good, with your breath on autopilot, your circulation moving through the veins without any request or want or need from you. Your body's amazing. So without any other information, you were already like the greatest piece of art ever architected, in creation itself. And we're so disempowered from the body, or trying to be so learned in its mysteries of functions, that often we miss that vital part of the alchemy happening in every single breath, which is possibly the most important thing you will ever learn about yourself, is the self-belief, the belief, the faith, and the knowing that you are of divine creation, just by existing. But today I could speak on your greatness all the time. Thank you. I could speak on your greatness forever, but we're going to take it to the organs today. So today's organ theory, and please, if you have any questions or anything you want to share in the chat, please do. I love everything to be super interactive and make sure that you're all receiving the transmission and the frequency of things here. Organ theory. Why organ theory? Organs are something that are usually out of sight, out of mind. We often concentrate on attributes of the human form that we experience as a chronic or acute, or things that we pertain to our every, daily lives that we particularly need, like the mind, for instance. So the organs, unless there's something particularly deficient or full, or we're experiencing some unfortunate function dispute within our bodies, are things that are often out of sight, out of mind. Wouldn't you agree? However, I totally disagree, because much like the engineering of any major piece of science or anything, your organs are just as important. Every single organ, though out of sight, out of mind, is relative to a sense organ, to a tissue, to a fluid, to an emotion, and to a certain attribute of mind, because everything is balance, right? Everything is yin and yang within the human form. The matter of humanity is what consciousness has particularly designed for us to experience the poetic greatness of consciousness through, and not just the poetic greatness of consciousness, but your unique, very unique, slither and expression of it. And only through you and only through the matter of your particular human form, just your human form with your human fingerprints, is consciousness reflecting and expressing or trying to express itself through you in its most authentic possibility. And that's pretty darn amazing. And it's taken a body to do that. We didn't come here in any other form, and often we try and bypass the matter of this spiritual technology to reach higher states of consciousness and mind without realizing that higher states of consciousness and mind are possible within every single cell. And understanding and understanding the workings, the internal alchemical virtues of our systems, especially pertaining to our internal organs, can not only allow us to fall deeper in love with the human embodiment experience and our experience, and understanding our possibilities and our deficiencies within our emotional landscapes, within our physiological landscapes, but it can literally help us architect our reality in mind. Because when you understand which parts of the alchemical virtues of the physiological attributes of the internal organs pertain to different parts of the mind, and say you needed to tap into your intellect for a week, you might want to do some spleen and stomach work. If you want to do some work around the psyche and the attributes of the psyche, you may want to do some cardiovascular work to tonify those attributes of the mind. Then when we work this way with this amazing spiritual technology that is the matter of the human form we've been given, we are able to be the master and the mastery of our existence, which is truly why we're here. I know we all have superiority complexes and small man syndrome, but if consciousness is only expressing itself through you and only through you as a way that only can come through you, then there's something to be said about kind of being the captain of your ship in that regard. So shall we talk about some organs? Does anybody want to share anything or have any questions around what organ theory is before I dive in to the meat, the sacred meat suit?
Well, there's some specific questions which we can go to later, but I think there's requests for organs as well. So should we just start with, like, I don't know, how would you describe the heart? I was going to say.
Oh my God. Okay, so the organs that we're going to particularly talk about today, we're going to work through all of the internal 5 elements. So the heart being the yin organ, let's start with the fire element, which is the heart is the yin organ, the small intestine, the yang organ. There is the pericardium and the triple burner, but they're also reflections of the heart and the small intestine. So, you know, the heart as an organ is the organ of consciousness, like without any kind of alchemical regard. On a physiological level, it's your organ of consciousness. A lot of people, you know, we're walking around with this beating heart, this poetically beating heart. It was just in the greatest service to us in every second, and we don't often understand its functions. And I think no one, you know, this is not a biology class, but from a functional perspective, the way that the organs work, because they're attached to different tissues, to different fluids, we may be experiencing things in our lives, say with our skin or with dryness or with our hair or with our nails or things like that, that we're applying kind of topical aesthetic healing to, when it could be organs. So from a heart perspective, so the heart governs blood and the blood vessels. It's responsible for circulating the blood throughout the body, ensuring proper nourishment to all of the organs and tissues. I view, or within the realms of TCM and Chinese medicine, we view the heart as the emperor of all the organs, and the kidneys are kind of like the primordial parents. A healthy heart is really, really essential for, you know, maintaining healthy blood circulation, promoting vitality. It also houses the mind. Now we could do a whole 2-hour session just on the mind and internal ecology, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to stick to attributes of the mind within a certain organ. So the heart houses what we would pertain to as the Shen, or the psyche, within the kaleidoscope, the amazing kaleidoscope of the mind. So, and it's considered to, this part of us is considered to reside in the heart, and this encompasses consciousness, mental activity, emotional well-being, You know, and a balanced, harmonious heart, great cardiovascular health is meant to promote clear thinking, amongst things like sound sleep, emotional stability. The heart also controls sweat. So it's associated with the opening of the sweat gland, the regulation of perspiration. And I'm telling you all of this so that if you experience physiological symptoms within any of these things, then you will know which organ probably needs tonifying or reducing. All right. So in the realms of sweat is seen as a way of the body releasing excess heat, say, and maintaining proper temperature. So if there's things going on cardiovascularly, you might have spontaneous sweating in the day, the sweats that come out of nowhere because the body's trying to regulate heat. We say that the heart manifests in the complexion. So the state of the heart can be registered in the complexion. You know, a healthy shows as a really healthy, radiant, shiny complexion. It contributes to the radiance in our soul, in our spirit. Being your thread of consciousness is, you know, coming through your individual heartbeat. And heart imbalances can manifest as complexion radiance issues, you know, dull skin, dull complexion, dull radiance, no vitality to life.
I have to say, when I met you, I was like blown away by your radiance. I mean, it was literally like,
Stop it.
I'm just speaking the truth. I think all of us would love to know, like, and you know, you're going to go through all of the organs, but like some of the things that your personal practices with.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps if you can go, like, if you can remember.
I will. I have many personal practices for sure. We'll be discussing those, definitely.
Yeah. But I think for a lot of people here, knowing or learning that the heart is connected with the psyche, I mean, at least for me, I would never put those two together. Like, I thought, like, because there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of material out there right now about the brain and the gut being connected.
I'm going to be teaching a class on that.
Yes, I saw.
Yes, gut instinct. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because the matter of the human body, you know, it's we can hold it, we can see it, it's real, it's firm, and areas of consciousness and mind are, you know, everything is mutually dependent and intertwined in the wholeness of creation of the universe, and we are no different. So the matter, the yin of the human form, has its yang non-aggregation reflection of matter, which is the unseen, the energetics of the human form, you know, which is the mind, which is consciousness, which is the emotions. They're the things that cannot be seen physically, but can be experienced and felt. And that being said, then everything is a reflection, you know, so the things that we cannot see, the things that we can feel, the energetic nature of our holistic beingness is a reflection of the matter of the human form, and everything within it, you know, and that's why I'm so potently passionate actually about the reconnection and the bypassing of the human form, because I'm actually a student of mind, of consciousness, and the human body happens to be the tool of which I excavate the lands of that. Just with the understanding of the wholeness of creation and the yin attributes of the human body reflecting the yang attributes of the mind and consciousness. So the non-aggregation parts of yin all live within the human form.
Yeah,
truly. So it could be in clinic. You know, when I'm in clinic, I will specialize in psychiatrics and gynae, and I often tell people this often. And my psychiatric patients who suffer with issues of the psyche, we will say, you know, it could be manic pathologies of the psyche, bipolar, schizophrenia, manic depression, and things like that. You can feel it in the pulse. You can sense it in the pulse. You can feel the heat in the cardiovascular system, which is also reflecting and playing on their own discoveries and experiences, causing the own trauma in their reflection of mind, right? So if we can, and we cannot take away from the human experience, we all have our own ideologies and experiential learnedness of trauma in our lives, and you know, essentially bringing us deeper to our own consciousness. However, the body being the tool of which we come here is also a tool to support the learnedness of our experiences. It is not a tool to disempower us and take us into further bouts of descent and entropy within the human form. And often with the reflection of energetics and the reflection of yin, the density of the human form, playing off each other. You know, these things can cause deficiencies within each other. So from a psychiatric perspective, you can feel it in the heart pulse. You can feel it. They will also have cardiovascular pathologies. If you ask questions, a lot of the time we don't ask questions about our human beingness, you know, just asking a few questions about the physiology and the attributes, the functions of the heart and the body, you will realize that they're having symptoms of heat in that particular system, and reducing the heat in the cardiovascular system reduces symptoms in the psyche.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Truly.
Yeah. I mean, I could ask a ton more questions about that, but I want us to be able
Yes.
to go through everything.
Yes, let's do all the things. Wow. Okay, so just quickly on the heart, before I would like to, like, as we go through it, discuss Healy things for the particular organs as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so the tongue, the heart opens into the tongue as well. That we say that the tongue is a reflection of the heart. So the color, the shape, the coating of the heart gives us a lot of insights into the quality of the heart. And actually, we say that the cardiovascular system controls speech. So the heart is believed to influence speech and communication. So when the heart is balanced, it is associated, say, with clear and eloquent speech. And on the other hand, you know, imbalances in the heart can manifest as speech difficulties, including stuttering, excessive talking, you know, speech impediments and things like that, especially in young children. So the heart is intrinsically linked to the tongue and all of its attributes. And it's connected to the emotions of joy. You know, a harmonious heart is associated with joy and happiness and emotional well-being. And imbalances will lead to, say, emotional disturbances like anxiety, insomnia, particularly the insomnia that where you have trouble falling asleep, restlessness, and all of those things. I could talk about pathology all day. So tell me what else you would like to know about the heart.
You know, hearing them and having these connections is so, I don't even know what the word is. It's just like mind-blowing to begin with. And then having those connections is really bringing you into the body and creating that ground for embodiment and connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we bypass. Yeah, bypass everything, don't we? Like, from being in our bodies, we want to learn so much about the body, often for purposes that have nothing to do with actually just discovering our human potential from just having a body. And there are no coincidences in life or in body. Everything is a reflection of everything. And we will, especially in our spiritual conscious communities, we're happy to perpetuate that narrative outside of ourselves. But when it comes to the human form, for some reason, we like to disempower the idea that we are in control of our biology. And we are.
Yeah.
Truly, every thought, every feeling, you know, is causing a ripple and a vibration in every single cell in your body, your internal waters, your blood. And to look at yourself as a divine creation of wholeness, you know, as your own continent with your own terrains and your own internal landscapes and your own seasides and mountains and valleys, is to really acknowledge you being as a reflection of creation.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful, that description of oneself, like a continent with valleys and mountains and shorelines. So how would you work with the Healy, you know, if you have excessive heat, or in relation to the heart?
So in relation to the heart, I mean, I am an organ junkie, as you can imagine, and just I use my Healy a little bit different when it comes to organ, because I do organ work with my Healy every single week, because I require a high cognitive capacity. So I will use the bioenergetic harmony programs just to regulate the bioenergetic harmony of the particular organ, i.e. the heart in this particular perspective. I will run the heart meridian programs, which are unbelievable. Like truly unbelievable. Now, saying that heart is the doorway to consciousness, Coherence is really a great program for that kind of psycho-spiritual reflection when we're deficient in the empowerment of that. because the heart really speaks to our unique experience of consciousness and our, stewarding, our responsibility to steward that authentic expression into the world shamelessly, like in the way that it wants to come through you and only through you. And I think sometimes we're too afraid to truly express that, that unique expression of consciousness that we have. In the name of tribalism, which is a gift and a curse, and I think if you are struggling with the authentic kind of pull, that authentic kind of Tao of your consciousness, then Coherence is a fantastic, absolutely fantastic program for the heart. And all of a sudden, and also the chakra programs for the heart, particularly, because when you're doing organ work, even if you have circulation problems, say, or you have heat regulatory problems, or you have anxiety, all of these things are regulated by the organs, truly. And often we skip a part. Anxiety is a symptom. It's not a foundational issue of the deficiency that is happening inside the body that is perpetuating this kind of inflection of the mind within the human form. So anxiety that's very chesty is a symptom of the heart, so if you're suffering with these kind of symptoms, then take it directly to the organ.
So as we go through these organs, like, do you have, I mean, obviously you're a practitioner, so when you work with clients, it's unique to what's going on for them, but so is that how you work with the organs in the Healy, just like what's currently present? You don't like run through like the heart, the kidneys, and certain number of times a week, you just go along?
I would do dedicated, because this is another thing that we do as well. We hop, skip, and jump. We want fast answers, fast things, and there's not a lot of mastery in that. If you're working with one particular organ, say, then I would work with that particular organ for 2 weeks. See the longevity in the wholeness of possibility within the potential of doing this work, and especially using the Healy as the tool of mastery, which it is. Healy is one of these amazing tool of masteries to supplement your mastery. So the more that you understand your human experience and your human ecology, then Healy becomes, I mean, it's already unbelievable, right? I think everybody on this call can say that. But when you are the master of your internal ecology and you have Healy, it turns into something that is truly, it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. So just one quick question before we go on to the next. So for someone who really wants to like apply this in the way that you've described, would there be an organ to start with? Like, that's the organ of consciousness, but would that be like the root of the work?
I would say if you're starting organ work with the Healy, I would say the kidneys or the heart. I mean, Marcus will always tell you his favorite program is the kidney program. Because the kidneys are our primordial parents. That's a whole nother class. But the kidneys are the root of our pre-heavenly chi. We say the root of our pre-heavenly essence. So the kidneys, yes, jing to jing, 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 someone just said. So from being the root of our pre-heavenly essence, the kidneys really have their tentacles in everything. Everything, deficient kidneys, deficient everything. So heart, kidneys.
Thank you. I mean, that just from my notes here, we would kind of jump if we spoke about kidneys. So should we just go back to
the heart?
We
finished the heart. But on that note, one of the yang organ for the heart that I'm going to discuss very quickly is the small intestine. Right? Because the small intestine is something, unless you have SIBO or a bacterial issue, we're just like, it's in there, it's doing something for me. But as we're saying that, attributes of the mind and our conscious reality, being the energetics, reflects from these organs. So often the biological functions of your internal ecology have psychospiritual functions too, that reflect from the biological functions. So if the biological functions are not working, then your psychospiritual kind of prowess is not going to be working to its highest regard either, right? So the small intestine, I love talking about the small intestine. I've been part of many research projects on the small intestine, so it's one of highly passionate about the intestines. But the small intestine, basically, its whole job is to separate the pure from the impure, right, in the body. It's separation of the pure of the impure substances. It receives partially digested food from the stomach. It separates the pure essence from the impure waste materials, right? Listen to what I'm saying here. And it absorbs kind of the vital vital energy from them. It transports them to nourish the body, you know, by sending the waste materials for further elimination, right? So essentially, it separates the pure from the impure, but it also does that in our lives. It allows us to separate the pure from the impure in our lives. And there's been many, many scientific studies, psychological papers, which, you know, attribute the small intestine to different attributes of psychological behavior or lack of, determining around these particular qualities. So if there's a deficiency in the small intestine, or you have a bacterial issue, you may suffer with separating the pure from the impure in your life. You might have poor boundaries, say, or other things in your life. And this is truly, truly, truly the magnificent reflection of the human nature. I just wanted to throw that in there as we were talking about the heart. So the small intestine, and the small intestine, there are great small intestine healing programs as well. Especially, you know, if you are present in your beingness of your kind of self-reflection and self-observation, then you're aware of these things within ourselves. And I think often, instead of using what we would view as deficiencies, because everything is whole, right? Our psychological attributes, be them, you know, the beautiful painting of what a spiritual human being should be or not. They are all opportunities to deepen in your knowingness of your own unique consciousness. So being in self-observation of yourself, say around not being able to separate the pure from the impure in your life, in your relationships, in your working places, the way that you carry yourself as a human, moreover, being aware of that allows you, and noting it as a chronic behavior will allow you to work with the internal ecology, the energetics of the small intestine, to help create these psychological landscapes. And this is the beauty of self-observation.
Yeah, it's an inbuilt, you're literally been born with tools.
You've given the greatest tool. Look at it.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I know. It's overwhelming. And I really, 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 I have a deep purpose to lead people into their self-inspiration of their own awe of possibility within their potential. You know, you are already magnificent, truly unbelievable, beautiful reflection of all that is amazing in creation. And just creating a belief around that is the beginning of self-mastery, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. This deep reverence for self. Okay, spleen.
Spleen. Oh, one of my favorites, as you know. So the spleen, if you don't have a spleen, don't worry about it. I know a ton of you are now going to be like, I don't have a spleen. My mom doesn't have a spleen. Nobody has a spleen. It is one of these organs that they whip out willy-nilly, which is fairly unfortunate, but it does cause a lot of issues in the human being, but it does cause issues, you know, further along if you're not working with the other organs, if you don't have a spleen. But we are going to talk about the spleen, which is a yin organ, right? And the spleen, to me, is one of the most important organs well, we need all of our organs, right? I'm not saying that, but the spleen is of particular magnificence to me because it has a function of transporting and transforming fluids. And when the spleen is not transporting and transforming fluids, we get stagnation in the body. It turns to damp, it turns to phlegm, and then you start getting real nasty, chronic, acute disease, you know, if we don't clear that out at some point later on. So from a splenic point of view, so the spleen transports and transforms and transports food essence, right? It's passed from the stomach, which rots and ripens food. It turns it into an essence. It refines the essence. It passes to the spleen. And this is all kind of the cycle of energetics and the cycle of chi. And a lot of us we don't know our bodies. We eat the food. We're like, oh, this broccoli is good for fiber. It's going to be good for blood. But we don't even know how blood is made. Now, imagine taking that knowledge, that awareness of your broccoli or whatever it is that you're using to tonify blood, and then knowing how blood is made. That's a different type of mastery. So from a splenic perspective, it takes this, it's responsible for the transformation and the transportation of food and fluids after digestion. It extracts the essence from kind of indigested food. It transforms it into energy or chi. I'm going to say, I like poetic words, so we're going to use chi, and it transports and nourishes the body's organs and tissues, right? So it essentially is governing digestion and absorption. It holds the blood in the vessels. We say the spleen is responsible for holding the blood in the vessels. So if you have a splenic deficiency, you might get purpura or petechiae. You might bruise easily. You might have a flooding menstrual cycle, because the spleen is responsible for holding blood. You know, it's engineering chi and blood. Essentially, it's regarded as the source of chi and blood production. It's the first point of call in blood production. It opens into the mouth. It manifests on the lips. So if you have a healthy spleen, it's believed, you know, you're going to have a great sense of taste. You're going to have a really nice quality lip. It's not going to be dry. It's not going to be or anything like that. It opens into the lips. It's the ruling of the muscles in the limbs. So the spleen is considered responsible for the health, the strength of the muscles in the limbs. And if it ensures the proper nourishment and movement of chi and blood throughout the body, supporting muscular function and mobility. So if you get like lethargic after lunch, or you've just got really poor muscle quality, you've been working out all the time, you feel like you're not getting muscle quality, then it's probably a splenic thing. But most importantly, outside of all of its unbelievable functions, if we think about the spleen and the stomach are responsible for digestion, right? For digestion. But they also have a psycho-spiritual reflection in the mind, right? So the psycho-spiritual reflection of the mind is the intellect. So the intellect part of the mind is resourced by the stomach and the spleen and the quality of it. So if you have issues with digestion, you're going to have issues with psychological digestion too, especially pertaining around the gestation of ideas and the cultivation of unique purpose-filled ideas that you're trying to birth into the world. And concentration, right? So mental functions around the spleen would be thinking, concentration, memory, even though blood has a lot to do with memory. And it's the spleen really and the stomach really contribute to clear thinking, a focused mind. So if you struggle with obsessive thought patterns, repetitive thinking, all of humanity, right? Like an overuse of the intellect, you just can't stop the mind, then it might have roots in splenic deficiency. I mean, it might have roots with other things too, but we can use the matter of the human form, the digestive organs to tonify psychological digestion as well. And you can also help the digestive nature of the spleen and the stomach by calming down your digestion of your thoughts, you know, as well, or lack thereof. I wanted to just go back to skip back 1 second because I wanted to talk about the alchemical virtues of each thing. So the heart as well, the heart, they say the alchemical virtue of the heart is to know thyself. And when we say know thyself, it's particularly attained to your unique thread of consciousness and the way it only wants to come through you, because often we tame it to fit a mold of societal requirements that have nothing to do with the way consciousness wishes to express itself through you wildly often. And we can cause cardiovascular distress just by doing that, by squeezing it down, by trying to enslave consciousness. So the alchemical virtue of the psycho-spiritual attribute of the spleen is to cultivate. So it's to cultivate true purpose, to cultivate purpose in our lives, to be able to cultivate the lands of ourselves through psychological digestion. I feel like I just said all the words, and you know, I can say all of the words on the spleen, so you might have to just stop me and ask me something.
No, there's a lot there. It's not all the words. There's so much nourishment in your words and enlightenment. Yeah, I mean, there's the spleen. What I was wondering is the spleen, does it affect, like, if that is like, how are all the organs connected? How does one affect the other? Are there relationships like that? I mean, obviously with the intent, the
100%.
stomach and the intestine, but like if the spleen is out of balance, what is
Totally.
the impact?
So I work with something like through Chinese medicine called the Sheng cycle. And I call it my Harry Potter's wand, because it looks like a star, basically. And we can track all of the organs, and through asking questions, not just in, patient care, but in ourselves through self-observation. If you ask yourself questions about the organs, you can usually get to the root of the source of the issue. So the spleen, the earth element, is the spleen. It contains the stomach and the spleen. And the earth element controls water, controls the kidneys and the bladder. So if there is a deficiency in the spleen, then you're probably going to cause deficiency in the kidneys. It's also the mother of the lungs and the large intestines.
Wow.
And it's the child of the heart and small intestine. So because everything is one big giant creation family within your chariot of divinity.
Do you have, like, have you written, forgive me because I don't know this, but have you written a book? Do you have literature? Because this is poetry, but poetry that, with regard to ourselves, and how often do we look at ourselves so poetically?
I mean,
Like, I feel like I read all
writing a book proposal at the moment. So you called that one right.
Yeah.
But I have plenty of literature, absolutely plenty.
Okay.
I have plenty of resources that I can share with all of you guys.
But with these poetic expressions, they're in
Yes.
that. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Okay. Well, we'll ask about that at the end, how we can source those.
Yes.
So we've got, like, I want to stay on track. So let's move to is there anything specific on the Healy for the spleen?
Spleen and pancreas, amazing
Okay.
program. Also the same meridians. It's really amazing for kind of psychological digestion is the chakra programs. Like, truly, again, like that personal power, solar plexus. It's really, really amazing. And it's also really amazing for tonifying the spleen. And you might have, some of the pathologies about the spleen would be bloating after meals. It is not always gluten, people. Okay, side note. Bloating after meals, feeling tired after meals, loose stools, undigested food in your stools, feeling really lethargic in the day. The stomach and the spleen are the root of our post-heavenly chi. They are the root of our energetics. So often what you're putting in your mouth has a certain tone to your energy throughout the day. And if the organs of the energy tonification are not working properly, then you're not going to feel good.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Stomach.
Okay, the stomach. Okay, so the stomach again is the yang organ. The stomach. I'm. By the way, I'm giving more emphasis on the yin organs, because the yin organs are the parts that house the mind, right? So please don't think I'm skipping over the yang organs. So the stomach, again, it's the root of our post-heavenly chi, the attributes of our psychological digestion. And often we don't treat our stomachs very well. Like, at all. We all follow certain protocols that we are told are good for us because we lack the discipline or the self-disciple, if we want to reframe that word, to really explore our own requirements of fuel, and they don't look like everybody else's, and there is no one right way for everybody. So in regards to Healy, and the stomach has very many of the same attributes as the spleen. In regards to the Healy, again, the stomach meridian programs, amazing, and the bioenergetic harmony programs. And this is for really tonifying the matter, the energetics of the organs in order to reflect that into the mind. Often we go to the mind, areas, and we have to keep doing them. Because that from where it comes is not functioning well, and to know where we're going, we have to know where we are coming from.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the lungs.
Yes, lungs. Okay, so I mean, how beautiful. The lungs are, you know, I would say the receiver of heavenly chi from creation. Just the fact that we are all breathing right now. I mean, and often here's another thing I always offer as well is that, you know, often we are seeking historic wisdom all the time. We want all of the historic wisdom because we want to feel connected. We want to feel like we are from something so much bigger than ourselves, but it doesn't get bigger than you, truly. And just the essence of the breath. I mean, it's on automated service right now. There is an unlimited, what would seemingly be an unlimited supply of the wealth of creation coming into our bodies at the moment. And issues in the organs from an alchemical perspective would look like feelings of unworthiness, feelings of self-esteem, issues around self-esteem, not, you know, just not feeling connected to life. It really speaks to that, speaks to deficiencies in the lungs. So things around the lungs. So the lungs will govern chi and respiration. They're responsible again for inhaling, for receiving this vital energy that is distributed throughout the whole body. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that, but air, like oxygen, has so much to do with metabolism. You know, how we metabolize our food, how we metabolize other things in our body. Through this exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, you know, and supporting cellular function, which is, you know, the most important things, you know, even working with the organs is supporting cellular function, essentially, which is, you know, why we're here. We're talking about healing. So it controls the energetics in the body, the lungs, controls circulation. So it really has a large responsibility in the regulation and the circulation of the energetics throughout the whole body, ensuring kind of the proper functioning again of the organs and other tissues. It opens into the nose, it manifests on the skin, you know, so having a healthy lung system is believed to result in, you know, having a really amazing, clear nasal passage, no sinus issues, a strong sense of smell. Healthy skin. A lot of skin pathologies exist within this realm, just due to the attributes within water metabolism. The lungs are, you know, indicatively related to the immune system in many ways, and it's related to grief. And I wanted to say about the spleen as well, and this obsessive thinking, mind patterns, worry. You know, if you're a bit of a worry wart, then you've probably, you know, got a lot of splenic deficiency. So the lungs really speak to grief, our capacity to not be able to let go of things, essentially, and grief. Before we kind of, and words are a casualty, words are always a casualty, but you know, grief essentially comes back to love. And our capacity to not experience things in the moment and be able to gracefully let them go in the ode of creation, in the descent and the ascent of our human experience. So pathologies around the lungs are going to look like what they do, you know, a lot of coughs, easily coughs and colds, holding on to a lot of grief. This could also be an attribute of the large intestine, a huge attribute of the large intestine. Skin pathologies, respiration issues, but I mean, and the alchemical virtues of the lungs and the large intestine really speaks to our embodiment, our somatic experience, our capacity to be present in body, in the preciousness of the moment. And that is the alchemical kind of nature of the lungs and the large intestine, is to be in the preciousness of the moment. And the lungs really gift us that through the energetic reflection.
Wow. What just dropped in, because you're talking about the breath, if someone, the way that someone breathes, is that an indication of their presence and their embodiment?
Absolutely.
Because
I spent a lot of time holding my breath, actually. Embodying, like exploring. I've never done anything else. This is, you know, I came into this through clinical nutrition, naturopathic medicine, herbal medicine, Chinese medicine, and then went on to do my doctrines and do clinical research through those realms. But as I was studying, I wouldn't call myself an embodied person. It was through my explorations of alchemy and the experiencing with my patients that I realized our responsibility to be present in flesh. And I used to hold my breath. So I think, and that shows me not being present, and I wouldn't know how long I had been holding my breath for. But the breath is one sure way to bring you back into the moment if you can remember that you're actually breathing.
Yes. Yeah. I think that there's an epidemic of holding breath, not breathing deeply, and it's a sign of our times.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So again, Healy programs, these are really simple protocols, and it's the most simple programs in Healy I find to be the most potent, like the gold cycles. If you could just run pure every day for 2 weeks, you get unbelievable results. And the lungs, the same thing, the Meridian programs, the bioenergetic harmony program, and I'd say again, the solar plexus programs for sure. And especially around issues around grief and connectedness, our intuitive wit, our animal instincts. They say intuition lives in the metal element, in the lungs and the large intestine. So our capacity to feel connectedness and be present enough to be connected with our own information field, right? And this is another thing, we're all seeking so much mind, as I say, the quest for the crown chakra, that we forget to be present in the animalistic nature of flesh and bone, because it is here, like a Giselle on the Serengeti, that you become, intuitively wit in your experience of your environment and your own connection to your information field. But if you are not present enough to receive, then how can you receive? And just like the attribute of the lungs, we are continuously receiving if we allow ourselves to. So working with the organ, especially if you are exploring realms of intuition, grief, animal wit, like somatic embodiment, being present in body, it's really important to work with that particular organ.
Yeah, as you're speaking, I'm like thinking about going through all of my organs. And is this something you offer to people, like through one of your courses, like you take them through everything? Because I would definitely need to have a guide, to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, kidneys is up next.
Kidneys. Okay, yes, we're going to stick to the yin organs, but what I will say, yang organ, we have to give the yang organ just one love, right? The large intestine.
Oh, the large intestine, yeah.
Is unbelievable, because we all know what it's for, right? For letting go. And often if we have issues with letting go in our life, you will find that you have issues letting go physically. A lot of people that I see in clinic that suffer with chronic constipation, when you get to the crux of it, have issues letting go in their life. And it's the same attributes of letting go, the same as if we did not allow the large intestine to do its job, we would auto-intoxicate, we would auto-pollute. And the same thing can go with that in our lives from a psycho-spiritual perspective. If we're unable to let go of things, to allow them to fertilize the soils of what is to come for us, to gracefully let things go, like autumn and the leaves on a tree, then they often intoxicate or auto-intoxicate our realities. So that is the nature of the large intestine, like truly. Just, I think it's really important to always give the reflection of the organ, because you can always see it in your life if you are self-observant enough to see what you're experiencing in your human form, in the form of pathology. You're also experiencing that as psychological pathology, emotional pathology, truly. The kidneys. Okay, the kidneys are primordial yin and yang. Amazing organs. I do kidney work every single week. in many means, whether that's just me doing like a castor oil pack just to show them some love, or warming my kidneys. The kidneys often don't like how we treat them in our societal means of moving so quickly, you know, through life. The kidneys are represented by winter. They like to be tonified. So the kidneys govern water metabolism. So they play a crucial role in the regulating of water metabolism in the body, and they also control the balance of fluids. If you think about all the fluids in the body, that's pretty huge, and proper hydration. And they really have a lot to do with governing chi, you know, throughout the whole body. They act as a reservoir of energy, supporting the other functions and promoting the vitality of the other organs. They are responsible for governing reproduction and development. They play a central role in reproductive health and growth and development of the body. Especially earlier on, they have a huge association with our sexual function, fertility, bones, teeth. The bones are the tissue of the kidneys. The teeth are a reflection of the bones. They govern the bones, they govern marrow. So they are believed to kind of nourish the bones, the bone marrow, and the brain. And I will say, like, my last thesis was on, I recently lost my father to Alzheimer's, and my last thesis was actually an ode to him when we first got a diagnosis. He was diagnosed with dementia, and I chose to do my last doctrine on the neuropsychiatrics of dementias from an internal perspective. And we did a lot of research. I spoke to some of the greatest neurologists in the world from all perspectives of medicine, from Western to Chinese to all kinds. And a lot of the deficiency was found in the kidneys. Now, I'm just giving you some backstory. My father was long-term on pharmaceuticals, high blood pressure medication, diabetic medication, and all of these things, they deplete the kidneys. The kidneys really, really detest long-term medication of any type. And it causes a real deficiency. And it could be a root of cognitive instabilities, you know? Yes, somebody said toxic overloads of heavy metals, but that's not the route I'm taking. I'm talking about like the internal organs of deficiencies and the organs of excretion that enable us to get rid of these things, because the body is a walking excretion tool. And when it's not working properly, we have to go to the organs instead of always trying to remove the symptom. And the kidneys are one of those organs in regards to those kind of things. So from the root of the kidney being a reflection of the brain and the bone marrow, it's really, really such an important organ to tonify and look after. Also, the kidneys open into the ears, they manifest in the hair. You know, a sure sign that the kidneys are working well is good hearing, no tinnitus, no ringing in the ears. It is not always the ancestors, as I say. So hearing and stuff like that, it's not always the ancestors. Okay, sometimes it's kidney chi.
Yeah, the tinnitus, I think, like I've heard, like seen a lot recently, people with that, and because you hear that a lot, like, oh, it's, you know, I'm being connected with the other beings. But interesting, my dad has got really, really bad tinnitus, and I do too. Mine's not really bad, but I have it too. So, and he's had tuberculosis, so he had one of his kidneys removed. So he's lived healthily his life, but he's only got one kidney.
Totally. Like the kidneys are phenomenal, and they're also responsible for entropy, right? So it is the kidneys and the depletion of kidney essence, the depletion of kidney yin, that causes us to age. So depending on different cultures around the world, you will see different cultures that don't age like we do in our Western societies, because they're not depleting kidney chi like we are. You know, the kidneys are responsible for the hair, early balding, early graying, the lack of hearing, you know, the depletion of our capacity to hear. All of those entrophic signs, like skin becoming dry and wrinkled, that is all a sign of depleting kidney yin. So the kidneys really, they're the source of our life. They're, you know, the root of our life, truly.
I love that, the root of our life.
Yeah.
The kidney program now for
kidney programs, people. So the deep cycle kidneys, kidney female, kidney or male. I get a lot of questions about kidney or male, because people sometimes message me and say, oh, but kidney or male comes up and I'm a female. But I think that kidney or male speaks to kidney yang, actually. So if it does come up, please do run that. I run both, like truly, absolutely, truly. So both of those programs, the Kidney Meridian programs, you cannot go wrong with those. Absolutely. And I actually run my Kidney Meridian programs under my feet, because there is a point right directly under the foot called Kidney 1, or bubbling spring, which is responsible for opening up the meridians to everything in the body, and it's directly under the foot. So if you want to get real badass with your self-mastery, you can run your kidney meridians, your meridian programs on Kidney 1 underneath the foot.
So would I have to like be very specific and look it up and find out where Kidney 1 was, or could I just like stick the pad on the sole of my foot?
Literally, it's just underneath the pad of your foot. You can put Kidney 1 into Google, it will come up. You cannot, it's not hard to find. It's literally right there. Okay. You just stick the pad, truly.
That is a gold nugget. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the bladder, okay, so the kidneys, the alchemical virtue of the kidneys is really, 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 really important, because it is related to our return to origin, because the kidneys and our prenatal chi contain our very codes for being here, they say, like your unique origins of why you're here. And also they are related to our ancestral chi. So they say that every one of your ancestors, you hold their chi in your kidneys. And the kidneys are relative to returning to the origins of yourself, really being able to be brave enough and fearless enough to be yourself in the world. They're also related to willpower. So willpower, fear, bravery, courage, all of the things it really takes to shamelessly express yourself and be in a world that is trying to do anything but that. So you might have issues around fear and stuff like that. I have up until recently, not so much now, actually. I've had a debilitating, you wouldn't believe it, fear of flying, even though I'm on an airplane every week. But I will get kidney pathology. I have a panic attacks, a pathology of the kidneys, particularly panic attacks. And I almost have a panic attack on the flight, but now I've learned to nourish my kidneys on the plane, and it doesn't happen, which is great, because I don't want to be doing that. I'm trying to think of other pathologies of kidneys that people can really relate to. Getting up to, backache. A lot of people feel like that is a skeletal issue, right? A musculoskeletal issue, but the bones are a tissue of the kidneys. So if, yes, you can have injury happens, the receptiveness of recovery after that is, especially when it comes to bones, is a nature of the kidneys. So if you get like a lot of lumbar back pain and stuff like that, tonifying the kidneys is really good. Knee pain, anything to do with bones is really, really good to go straight to the kidneys, as a side note.
Is that why old people, when they fall, their bones break more easily? Yeah,
totally, because the depletion of kidney chi.
Right.
Truly. It's a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, we're on the liver. Oh, the bladder.
The bladder. Okay, so the bladder is the transformer of chi. Again, the same, run all of the same programs. So obviously the yang organs are just as important, but for the sake of time, let's yin organs, because they store fluids, they store blood, they store the mind. So the bladder is responsible for the transformation of chi. So I do a lot of bladder work if I'm in some kind of transformatory process, actually. It really helps doula that. And the same thing, I'm going to go with Healy, like across the board, is the bioenergetic programs, the meridian programs, like all of the organ programs, for sure, to tonify these kind of attributes.
Yeah, this is just so mind-blowing. I mean, this is not about me at all, but I kept on getting the bladder come up the last couple of weeks, and I am going through this like major transition right now. I was like, I don't have a UTI. I like, there's nothing wrong with my bladder.
Because the consciousness manifests through matter, right? We are matter, and understanding the different tones and textures of our internal kind of portal to divinity really allows us to steward our consciousness in our lives to be in the receivership of all of its tones and textures. Like truly, you are a miracle.
Yeah.
Like the body is miraculous, unbelievably.
Your miracles. Yes. Okay. Liver.
Okay, we're going to go to the liver. So, God, the liver. So the liver is really, I mean, first and foremost, you can cut a bit of the liver off and it grows back. If that's not unbelievable, I don't know what is. You know, the liver stores blood. So the liver stores blood, it regulates blood flow. It has this function of storing and regulating blood, especially for the smooth flow of chi, for the tissues, for the menstrual cycle, for the emotions, right? It opens into the eyes. So eye health, a lot of eye things have its roots in the liver. I recently completely corrected my eyesight, like entirely, just from doing liver work and cellular work. Anyone that knows me knows I made this big deal. I was putting it off for ages because I was told that when you hit 40, your eyesight must deplete into an oblivion. But I do not buy entropy as a means of human existence. So I went on a little self-discovery, especially around the emotions of the liver. I've had a lot of loss this year, especially with my father. I was pent up frustration, repression, which are all attributes of the liver. And I dealt with it. And as a result, my eyesight has returned to like when I was a child. It's amazing. So the liver opens into the eyes. What else do I want to say about the liver? Okay, so it's also really responsible for assisting digestion. So it has a role in kind of the smooth functioning of digestion, or the smooth movement of chi for digestion and the emotions and the menstrual cycle, amongst many things. It manifests in the nails and the eyes. So eye issues, allergens, soreness, redness, anything around the eyes really could have roots in the liver, especially as the liver is in so much use in our day-to-day lives. Nails, nail issues, and also it's a major organ of detoxification and filtration. You know, it's one of the most involved detoxification and filter systems in the body. It helps eliminate toxins, metabolic waste products, excess hormones. It plays a role in kind of maintaining the health of everything in the body. But also it's responsible for our divine sight, because it opens into the eyes. So our capacity to self-actualize through seeing the destination of ourselves, through really finding true path, is an attribute of the liver. And being able to, however, be flexible enough to change the route to get to your destination, that capacity to really self-actualize through consistent growth and forward movement, but being flexible enough to make change, is an attribute of the liver. It's, you know, emotions are to do around frustration, repression, anger, which we are told, you know, serve no purpose in the world, but these get things done. And when we repress things, anger, emotions, then it causes a stagnation of chi, not just in our bodies, but as a reflection in our lives, because you are a reflection of your external reality. Like truly, if everything's a reflection, you know, as we like to write cute hashtags about and stuff like that. So you literally are, as a walking, breathing flesh and bone, like matter of consciousness, chariot of divinity, portal to consciousness, flesh and bone. Your internal ecology is going to reflect into your external reality. That is just the nature of physics. It's not even any woo-woo. We're not even talking woo-woo here. We're talking quantum physics, reflection. So really, really navigating the internal ecology, especially organs like the liver, really support self-actualization in whatever means that means to you. Like truly. And so the liver programs are very, very important, because the liver takes a beating, not just in our food choices, but in our fluid choices, but in our means, our repressive nature, our means to fit into the puzzle pieces of a puzzle that are pieces for us, you know. And often we try and fit into a puzzle piece because we are not brave enough to explore our own unique expression of it. And the liver takes a real brunt of this, truly.
Hmm. The amazing liver.
Yes.
So that's connected. I mean, the reflection of that is the gallbladder for yang.
Yes. So we say that the liver is the planner and the gallbladder is the decision maker. So if you have trouble making decisions or making decisions in your life, that's an alchemical virtue of the gallbladder. So the liver is the planner, the liver plans the route, the gallbladder decides which route to take. Truly. Yes.
So indecisive people need to work on their gallbladders.
Please, especially if you're out with me in a restaurant and can't pick your meal. Help me do that, please.
So the same application with Healy would be the bioenergetic groups.
Really.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I don't know if there's one for a meridian for the gallbladder.
There is a gallbladder meridian.
So
yeah.
Gosh, there's so much here. I think we're going to need to watch the replay a few times to take it all.
100%. But the main tone and texture is that you are the tone and texture of your life. You are totally in control of this amazing biological technology that consciousness has divinely manufactured to express itself through you and only you in this lifetime, and really mastering through self-observation, your own energetics of it, much like a car. You know, if your car needs screen fluid, you're going to put screen fluid in your car. So being able to navigate this way around the human form really gives you a superior outlook on consciousness and your experience of it. And using Healy as a tool through your own self-observation really just fortifies the existence of human potential in this lifetime, truly.
Truly. And, you know, there's that saying, all the answers are within. You know, people like to say that, and all the tools are within.
You are all the tools. You are the protocol.
Yeah.
Truly.
You are the protocol.
Yeah, you are. Absolutely.
There's a lot that, you know, we can take with this information and apply it to our lives. And it's just such a rich offering here. Thank you so much for being with us. And you know, I'd love to learn more from you. What's really present for you right now in your work, and like, you know, what are you
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on right now. I'm in a massive creation cycle. So someone just asked a really interesting question about trauma. Feel free to message me about that. That's a really good question about the burden of inherited trauma in the body. Okay, so what's alive for me right now? I have a membership portal, which we have literally just finished piecing together. You get content drops every single week. A lot of it is on organ theory, because that's what I do. I do weekly lives in there. It's $11 a month. And you literally get content maybe 3 or 4 times a week on one live. However, I have just designed a masterclass called Gut Instinct, because to follow your gut, you have to have a healthy gut. And it's going to be a 2-part masterclass. And we are opening it up to you guys today on a discount just for you guys. So I think you guys for the next 24 hours can get it for $44, but it's a 2-part masterclass on the gut, and not just the physiology of the gut and gut health and how to tonify it, but the psycho-spiritual attributes of gut health too. And I think Kelly just dropped you a link there. So I think what's alive for me right now, there's loads of things. The membership portal, the gut health masterclass. I've got a portal starting next week called Elemental, actually, which is a membership portal that truly deals with internal ecology, the organs and the elements. My podcast, Jedi Mind Tricks.
So would you say that's that would be like a continuation of what you've shared here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
elemental one.
Elemental portal, yeah. But
Okay.
and also gut instinct, because we're really going to be talking about the psychometrics of the internal system.
Amazing. We're all so grateful to have you here and to have this offering. And
Thank you.
transmission. It's so full and so rich, and we just want to say thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Oh,
We're
nice.
going to be frequency schools once a month. So our next one is in June, of course, but we have a special guest lined up, but we're not going to say anything yet until we set the date. So for everyone watching, please join us again next month. And Michelle, enjoy your time. You're in Miami, yeah?
I am in Florida, yes, but I'm flying back to the UK tomorrow, and then I'm flying to Portugal to prep for the Healy retreat.
Yes. Yeah. So whoever's going to Portugal, we're gonna get to meet Michelle.
Yes.
And when is that gut instinct happening? The master.
Oh, I can't remember. I think it's around the 17th of June. And if you don't have the link here, or you've not got the link, you can just find me on Instagram, or go ask Sophia. Find me on Instagram, the Earth Oracle.
Yeah,
You can find me and I'll get you that. Yeah.
You can share the links with everyone.
But for the next 24 hours, you will get it for, it's the class is going to be $55, but you guys will get it for $44 if you sign up in the next 24 hours.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you. It's my
See you.
pleasure. You know I love it.
I love you. See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Oh, and anyone that wants to reach out to Michelle, you can connect with me or through our Healy frequency WhatsApp group. Okay, goodbye.